rather delaying this to tomorrow, and that potentially I'm gonna have to do 4 video tomorrow on my main channel, I'm gonna do the news of the week right now, and that I am gonna do it at 1 in the morning right now. And in this news of the week episode, I am only going to really talk about reports and also confirmed signings and a couple of injuries concerned in this news of the week. I mean, there's other things that I also want to talk about, like the situation with how Charlotte is going to build a $2 billion stadium, and that might be enough of them getting to MLS. Or I want to talk about how the Disco fined a couple of players and explain why exactly they got fined for. And I want to talk about how Diego Valeri won MLS Player of the Week, although that was pretty obvious that Diego Valeri was going to win MLS Player of the Week with the way that he got 3 assists and a goal in that game against the Houston Dynamo. Or I want to really talk about a thing that I actually kind of had to debate whether or not should I actually talk about it in the news of the week, and I was actually thinking about even making an own video about it, which is there is a bit of a turmoil right now with the US Soccer Federation, which, you know, it's not surprised because it seemed like there's always turmoil in this soccer federation that has been very bad for the last couple of years. But now it has to do with the employees being very angry at the soccer federation because of the working condition that they're in, and they've been posting negative reviews on Glassdoor talking about how the US Soccer Federation is an absolute joke and that they are treating them like slaves when they're working for the federation. And as much as I want to talk about that, I have to talk about some of the reports and some of the signings that have already confirmed, because we're getting to the point where the transfer window is going to open in a couple of weeks. Now, the first couple of report has to do with Inter Miami, and Inter Miami has been in the news a lot this week. And they're in the news a lot because they report that they have agreed a deal to sign 2 South American young DP. First, they are reported to agree to sign Argentine forward Julian Carranza for $6 million, and also 19-year-old winger Matheus Pellegrini for $10 million. Now, it seemed like Inter Miami is kind of following a little bit similar path to what Atlanta United did in their expansion year, where they decided to sign some of these South American kind of player, these young South American player, to try to be the impact player for their team. And that there's no doubt that these 2 players that Inter Miami potentially is going to sign is going to be DP level player. However, what's interesting is that, you know, with them now signing these 2 guys on a young DP contract, who exactly is going to be the third DP, and are they actually going to get a big name kind of player? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of you don't know who exactly Julian Carranza and Matheus Pellegrini is, although I'm pretty sure that both of these guys are very talented because, you know, Miami is paying a big bucks for them, and anytime when MLS teams decide to pay big bucks to try to get these young South American player, you know that they are definitely very promising kind of South American player. But it also makes you wonder, are they actually going to get kind of a big name kind of player, a guy that is from Europe and that, you know, everybody knows him, and that he is going to become a player in MLS? I mean, there's been a long time that Antoine Griezmann was going to go to Inter Miami. That obviously is not true anymore because it looks like he's going to be going to Barcelona. Then there was the rumor about Luis Suarez coming to Inter Miami. That rumor has really died down and pretty much at a point where it's definitely not going to happen of him coming to Inter Miami. So who else are they going to try to think about bringing in as kind of a big superstar, kind of European name that obviously Beckham really wants when this team, of course, launch? Or is it just they're just going to sign these young South American DP and then go with that? And I have no problem with the way that's going to set up, as long as if these kind of players will actually be kind of like a Miguel Almiron kind of type of player that will grow in this league, and eventually Miami will sell them off as a profit, and that of course could be a successful way of them doing in their expansion season, because they don't need a aging kind of European superstar in order to just compete in the league. If they are smart in terms of signing the right young South American player and a couple of decent player around the league, then they're definitely good to go in terms of being one of the best team in MLS. Now, another player that Inter Miami is interested in is that they're interested in Tyler Boyd. And apparently a couple of days ago they were saying that Tyler Boyd is actually not coming to MLS and instead he's going to be staying in Turkey. He's actually now in Turkey playing for a club that I don't quite remember, but he is going to be moving that club to a even bigger club in the Turkish Super League, and that bigger club is going to be Besiktas, and that he could be joining alongside with Kyle Larin to be the latest MLS player that is going to be going to Besiktas. And I think, for Tyler Boyd and as a U.S. men's national team, for his sake, I feel like the right move for him is to just stay in Turkey and stay in Europe. I mean, I'm not saying MLS is a bad league and that it doesn't really develop kind of young, talented player, but at the same time, I think it's a more smart move for him to stay in Europe and stay in the Turkish Super League, and that he's going to be playing a team that is pretty big in the Turkish Super League and part of that big three of the Turkish Super League. So yeah, I feel like it would be smarter for him to go to Besiktas and get the experience there in Europe rather than go to Inter Miami and play in MLS. And that, right now, the only reason why Inter Miami really wants him is because they already saw what he did in the Gold Cup and the amazing kind of form that he's been in with the U.S. men's national team, and in the first two games that he has looked very good. That's why they really want to get him. And there's already multiple teams that are looking to trying to get Tyler Boyd, but it seems like Inter Miami want to get him first and want to also get his discovery rights so that they, of course, will get that money if a team decided to sign them, and that they're going to have to pay Inter Miami some TAM money because of the discovery rights rule. And once again, I'm not going to even explain what the discovery right rule is. It's one of the dumbest rule in MLS. Another rumor that could happen in this summer transfer window is that there is a winger called Edwin Jarzi that is set to go on loan in MLS from CSKA Sofia. Now, I don't really know a lot about these players, and if you, of course, are fans of CSKA Sofia or you watch any Bulgarian kind of football, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of Edwin Jarzi? He's a 29-year-old Ghanaian, and they said, I have kind of heard that they said that he is kind of a very fast and pacey player, which is not surprised. A lot of Ghanaian players, especially on the attack, are very, very fast. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not which team is actually gonna get him. It says that he's set to go on loan in MLS, but they didn't say which team it is. And since he's going on loan, it's going to be interesting to see whether if he's just going to go on loan in MLS and maybe he's going to stay in MLS where a team will pick up a option to buy him, or that he's just going to go to MLS for a year and then he's going to go back to CSKA Sofia or go to another club in Europe. Now, Atlanta United, they themselves are also looking to try to get another young, talented South American player and looking to try to break the record for the third time or the third season in a row of getting player for just a record amount of money. And that this time they are looking to try to get Venezuelan attacker Jefferson Soteldo, and the report price I think is $18 million, which will be about $1 million more expensive than what they got for Pity Martinez during this offseason. Now, this one I'm a little bit skeptical of the fact that Atlanta is willing to try to get this move done. Again, I don't know much about Jefferson Soteldo. All I know is that some players says, or not some player, but some fans have said that, he hasn't really had a very good Copa America with Venezuela this year. And the fact that Atlanta has already kind of filled up their DP spot with Barco, Joseph Martinez, and also Pity Martinez being the free DP. How in the world are they going to sign Jefferson Soteldo? Like, they're going to have to get rid of one of their DP or buy down one of their DP in order to get this deal done, and I just don't see which DP that they can get rid of and which one they can buy them down, because those free players, Joseph Martinez, Ezequiel Barco, and Pity Martinez, there's no way those free players can really get buy down in terms of their DP value. The only player I can think of could buy down would be Pity Martinez, with the way that his season has gone, that is just not being very good, and that they might have an option to buy him down. But even so, I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's just no DP spot for Atlanta United to get this player, and that, this player, as I have heard, hasn't really had a good Copa America and haven't really been in a very good form in these last couple of months. So this deal would definitely not make sense if Atlanta United decided to approach him. And Atlanta United has already have some very good, decent attacker. I don't see why they need to bring in another one and spend ridiculous amount of money to bring in another attacker. Speaking of South American players, the Galaxy, of course, are able to get to trying to send a $12 million offer for 50% of Christian Pavone rights. Now, there's a lot of reports that the Galaxy eventually is going to sign Christian Pavone, and that Boca Junior is eventually going to accept the offer. Although this price, I think, is a little bit more, it's definitely down from the last deal where I think it was like 14 million or 13 million and around like 70% of Christian Pavone rights. But now the percentage has also kind of gone down, with the way that now it's not just 70% of Christian Pavone rights, but it's now just 50%. And it's definitely interesting to see if the Galaxy, of course, can make this work. And obviously, if the Galaxy does make this work, they also need to buy down one of or open up a DP spot, because their DP slot is pretty much filled up. Jonathan Dos Santos, Roman Alessandrini, and Zlatan is the free DP for the Galaxy right now, so they are eventually going to have to buy down one of those DP. And most likely, from what I heard from Galaxy fan, they said that the guy that probably will be bought down in terms of his DP is going to be Roman Alessandrini. And it's not that Alessandrini has been bad, but since Alessandrini has been just so injury prone, there's just no point of really kind of like using him as a DP if he's just going to spend most of his time on the IR, and just seems like he's just too injury prone to be a designated player. So there's a lot of talk that could eventually happen, and that they can, of course, get Pavone as their third DP, but we shall see how that is gonna work out. And now, in terms of talking rumor, I'm gonna kind of switch to a point where we're going to be talking about rumors about some of the players in the league right now that could potentially be either moving to another team or actually heading to Europe. And we start off with the fact that Columbus Crew defender Gaston Sora looks like he could be leaving Columbus, and that there is multiple team that is interested in the Columbus Crew defender. Now, this is not the first Columbus Crew defender that has already leave for another MLS team. Earlier this season, Lawless Abubakar actually left to the Rapids, and although he's actually only there on loan, and that the Crew should be able to get him back by next season, they obviously lost a piece on that for this season. And now that they're going to lose another piece in the defense, I mean, that's interesting with the Crew, where they are started to kind of strip down, and that I just wonder, is this really kind of like their way of saying that, well, we're just kind of blow it up and trying to hope that for the rest of the season, we're just going to kind of tank the rest of the season and see how it's going to go. And I don't even want to use the word tanking, because there's really no such thing as tanking in MLS. Like, it's not like in NHL or in NFL or even in MLB, where you can just tank your way throughout the season so you can get a better draft pick. Because in this case, you will get a better draft pick, but it's going to be in the MLS Super Draft. And we have seen in the past where the MLS Super Draft is not usually one of the places that you would want to find talent in there, and that that he could be a decent kind of talent in MLS. So that's an interesting situation that Columbus is dealing with. But again, multiple teams are interested in trying to get Gaston Sora, and I have a feeling a lot of these teams that is interested in him needs defensive support. So most likely, I think one of those teams could be Toronto FC, that is desperately needs some defensive replacement right now, or some defensive kind of structure in the team. But we shall see if that move, of course, would happen. Now, FC Dallas attacker Carlos Guerrero are reported that he is going to be heading back to the Bundesliga, but this time he's heading to the Bundesliga to join a different team. When he came to FC Dallas and when Dallas bought him, he was playing with Stuttgart, but now this time he looked like he is going to be going to play with Augsburg instead. And I think the reason why he is not going to be going back to Stuttgart is because Stuttgart got relegated in the Bundesliga and that he wants to play in the Bundesliga. And it'll be interesting to see if FC Dallas would decide to accept this offer. Guerrero has been one of the most important players for FC Dallas, and FC Dallas is a team that definitely rely heavily on their academy, but at the same time they also eventually want to sell some of their academy product overseas, and that Guerrero, even though he technically didn't come from the Dallas academy, he is definitely a young kind of players that fits in that FC Dallas kind of system of that team. Definitely have a lot of young talented players that can do very good things down their career. So now that if FC Dallas thinks that Guerrero is ready to go back to Europe, and that if they do get a good kind of offer for Guerrero, then I think maybe they will accept it. But if they do accept it, they got to remember that they are going to lose one of the guy that has been a big piece on their attack and also in that midfield. So just bear in mind, FC Dallas, before you actually decided to sell this player back to the Bundesliga. Now in terms of rumors, there's actually also rumors in terms of coaching too. FC Cincinnati obviously looks like they are not going to stick with Johan Demet, and that they are looking to trying to get a new head coach. And although this might sound like a joke, but some of the reports said that Alan Pardew and Tab Ramos could potentially be the next head coach of FC Cincinnati. Now, Tab Ramos is not a big surprise because he's always been rumored with a job in MLS. But Alan Pardew? Really? Like, you think Alan Pardew is going to come to MLS and coach a team here? I mean, I'm not saying Alan Pardew is a bad coach. From what I'm seeing him in the Premier League, every time when he does coach a team, he tends to do very well in his first season, and then things goes downhill in the second season, and then it just basically collapses in the third season. And I think for FC Cincinnati, if they really kind of like in a mode where they want to win now, then Alan Pardew would definitely be a good option. However, if they really want to have some long-term success, then Pardew will definitely not be your answer. And Tab Ramos, as I said, he's been rumored with a job in MLS, and that maybe this is really his chance to do it. I mean, maybe he can, of course, attract some young kind of players to FC Cincinnati and kind of improve this team, because right now FC Cincinnati is kind of in a bit of a shambles, and that FC Cincinnati is not like FC Dallas or the Red Bulls where they have a very strong academy kind of team. And that's what I am concerned with Tat Ramos going to FC Cincinnati, because Tat Ramos, he's the U20 head coach for the US, and he tends to really rely heavily on the academy and rely on some of the youth players on the team when he of course decided to try to coach an MLS team, which is why heading into this season there was a lot of report that he was going to go to Dallas, because Dallas would be a perfect position. But it turns out Dallas decided to choose one of their academy director, Luchi Gonzalez, to coach that team too, and that is why Tab Ramos is still with the U20 team right now. But in terms of some of the deals that have been done, obviously I've already reported that Carlos Ferrero has been signed with the San Jose Earthquakes. Obviously I made a separate video on that, because anytime when the Quakes sign a player, I don't include it in the news of the week. I just basically make a single video into that. But NYCFC have signed Scottish winger Gary Mackay-Stevens after they were rumored to try to get him a couple of days ago. And this, of course, definitely does add a little bit depth in terms of that attacking spot. I mean, in some way, I feel like, this kind of signing isn't necessary for NYCFC. I mean, they already have a very good attack with Matrita, Aber, and Tajuri Shradi, but now getting Mackay-Stevens, that will add a little bit more depth in terms of the attack. And that Mackay-Stevens obviously came from Aberdeen, and I heard that he had a pretty decent season there. That will, of course, add in some more depth into it. Like, I don't know if he's going to be... He could potentially turn into what Johnny Russell was when he came to MLS and how he just completely took over the league. But I won't be surprised if Mackay-Stevens could be that kind of guy where he, of course, does start in games or just come off the bench for NYCFC and completely wreck teams as he comes off the bench. Now, LAFC have picked up Latif Blessing contract option for 2020, and this move, of course, is not a big surprise because Latif Blessing has been one of the most important player in that NYCFC team, and kind of one of those guys that is just kind of a unsung hero for that LAFC team. I mean, when we talk about LAFC, we always mention about Vela and Diego Rossi and all these guys that is just contribute in this team. But don't forget about Latif Blessing. I mean, Blessing has been pretty good for this team, not only on the defensive end, but also on the attacking end. And the way that he has done this season, there is no doubt that he definitely deserves a pay rise. And I think this contract option does give him a little bit of a pay rise, but he absolutely deserved it with the way that not only he's been performing very well this season, but in general he has been performing very well ever since he's joined LAFC. And I have a feeling now Sporting KC will be very... I bet they'll regret the fact that they decided to leave Latif Blessing unprotected, and that now they start seeing that Blessing is actually just an amazing player and one of the best attacking player and also defensive player in this league. Now, talking about some injury list player, and actually that's going to be the last thing that I'm going to be talking about in this MLS news of the week. Courtney Ford, of course, unfortunately is done for the season following knee surgery. So, as much as Colorado fans hope that Courtney Ford would eventually returns for this team, he suffered that knee injury earlier in the season, and that there's been kind of a long recovery process. But now it's just happened that now he would be out for the season because it seemed like that recovery process didn't really help, and that Courtney Ford unfortunately will have to have knee surgery, and that they of course are going to really miss him in terms of the defensive end. However, the good news is when they got Lawless Abubakar from Columbus, I think at least Abubakar is going to take that spot that where Courtney Ford is, and I think Colorado should be good enough in terms of the defensive end, and that this wouldn't be as big of a loss if they didn't get Abubakar a couple of months ago. Now, Honorable Godoy is going to be out for 6 weeks following groin surgery. I kind of talk about this on my third channel and also talk about it whenever I talk things about the Quakes. And yeah, it's definitely a little bit disappointed that Godoy is going to be out for 6 weeks. And, I know in the past I've been a critic of Anibal Godoy, but the form that he has been in this season, yeah, this is definitely going to be a bit of a loss for the Quakes in terms of the midfield. And there's also a question of whether or not is this really, like, before the Gold Cup begins, did we actually saw the last of Anibal Godoy as a Quakes player? Because there's also numerous report that he is going to Liga MX, and that, if the Quakes does get a good offer for Anibal Godoy, then yeah, I won't be surprised if the Quakes are going to decide to sell Godoy to a Liga MX team, which I have no problem with it, but I'm just worried that if we sell Godoy and we get that kind of investment, the front office will not use that investment wisely, or not even use that investment at all to trying to find a replacement for him. I mean, knowing the Quakes front office, they tends to do some very stupid things whenever they decide to sign players. But last but not least, in terms of this news of the week, is that Ezequiel Barco will be out 2 weeks with a knee injury. So, in some way, this is a bit of a good news for Atlanta fans, because when they heard that Barco has suffered an injury, they were definitely holding their breath and saying that please do not be a long-term injury, and that it please do not be just an injury that was caused because of him going to the national team. Now, that injury, of course, was the case when he was in Copa America, but the good news is it's not a serious injury and that he will be back in 2 weeks. And I think he deserved a bit of a rest, knowing the fact that, he's been just an important player for this team, and that once now he's come back to Copa America, he's going to be a little bit more fatigued, and I think this 2 week break will give him enough time where he's going to recover back to full strength and do what he has done throughout the season for Atlanta United, which is just being one of the most important players for this team. But yeah, either way, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. I do apologize the fact that this has been a very long video, but since there's so much news and so much reports I kind of have to dissect, that's why this is going to be a very long video. But either way, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. As always, if I missed some reports or some news that I didn't kind of mention in the beginning of the video or doing this video, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you guys next time.